A very good morning to one and all. Myself, Professor Chetan Gupta, SIRT College, the SAGE Group, and in today's lecture, we are going to discuss about a subject that is OOPM, that is Object Oriented Programming and Methodology. And in today's lecture, we are going to discuss about a topic that is inheritance and its type. Basically, if we talk about inheritance, so inheritance is one of the most important features of object-oriented programming in C++. Basically, inheritance is a fundamental concept in object-oriented programming that allow one class to inherit the property of another class. Basically, in inheritance is a process in which one class inherit the property of existing class. The existing class is called base class or the parent class, and the newly created class is called drive class or child class. The important feature of inheritance that it provides the concept of reusability. It is always nice that if we could reuse something rather than trying to create the same all over again. So basically, inheritance allow us to reuse the property of the existing class. Inheritance is the process by which object of one class can acquire the property of the object of another class. The drive class basically inherit the property of base class. So what is base class and what is drive class? Basically, base class is the old class or the existing class from which the new classes can be built, and the drive class is called the newly created class, which have its own property, and it also contains the property of its base class. So basically, inheritance is a most important feature of OOPS that allow data reusability, or we can say that code reusability. So lines of a code can be reduced, and it also save the time and it increases the reliability. If we talk about how we do the inheritance, so there are three properties of the classes: private property, public property, and the protected property. If we talk about if we want to inherit the data in the public mode, then both public and protected data of a base class will be inherited by the drive class. So the public data will enter into the public section of a drive class, and the protected data of a base class entered into the protected section of the drive class. It has happened while we are using the public inheritance mode. If we talk about private data, we can never inherit the private data of a class. If we are using a protected keyword while using the inheritance, so both the public and the protected property of a base class will go into the protected section of the drive class. And similarly, if we use a private keyword while the inheriting the property of the base class, so both the private data we can never inherit, but the public and protected data of a base class will enter into the private section. So there are three mode of inheritance: public, protected, and private. But in all three modes, if we talk about the private property of any base class, we can never inherit the private property of the base class. If we talk about what are the different types of inheritance, so there are five types of inheritance: single inheritance, multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hybrid inheritance, and hierarchical inheritance. We will discuss it one by one. First, we will discuss about what is single inheritance. In a single inheritance, we have only one class, existing class called base class. And from that base class, we can build a new class called drive class or child class, as we have seen in this figure that we have a base class. And from the base class, we have built another class called drive class. This is called single inheritance. If we see the syntax, what we do here, Here we use a class keyword. After that, we have a create a class called base class. Then in base class, we have put data member and the member function, and we have terminated the class by the semicolon. And while we declaring the drive class, what we have the use the syntax, we have use a class keyword, then the drive class name, then colon, then the visibility mode and the base class name. Base class name is the existing class is called base class. Then this drive class have its own data member and member function. So in inheritance, what is happening? That the drive class have its own data and member functions, and it also can access the data member and member function of its base class. If we talk about multiple inheritance, in multiple inheritance, there are multiple base classes, and these multiple base classes data can be inherited by a single drive class that we have looked in this figure. If we talk about the syntax of multiple inheritance, what we have seen, we have created a class base class name 1, in which we put both data member and member function, and we have terminated a class. After that, we have create another class called base class 2. And while creating a base class 2, we not use the inheritance because base 1 and base 2 both are the independent classes. They are not inheriting each other. So we have created a base class 2 in which we also put the data member and member function, and we terminated the class. So we have created two base class name 1 and base class name 2. While declaring a drive class, we have inherit both classes because in the figure we have seen that base 1 and base 2 both are inherited by the drive classes. So in the syntax, what we have seen that we have again used a keyword class, then drive class name, then colon, then visibility mode. Then we have passes the base class name 1, and we have separated by comma because we want to inherit both classes. So it will be separated by comma, then again visibility mode, and the base class name 2, base class name 1 and base class name 2. And again, this class also have their data member and member function. So this drive class basically inherit the property of both base 1 and base 2. And if we talk about this visibility mode, so this visibility mode is indicating that whether we are inheriting the data in the public mode, whether we are inheriting the data in the private mode, or whether we are inheriting the data in the protected mode. This is the third inheritance called multi-level inheritance, in which we have seen in the figure, we have a base class. From that base class, we have created another class called a drive class 1. And from that drive class, if we create another drive class 2, so this is called multi-level inheritance. In multi-level inheritance, what we have seen that we have created another drive class from the existing drive class, which is derived from a base class. So in the syntax, what we have seen, we have a create a class base class, then we have open class, then we put data member and member function, and we close the class 1. After that, we have create a new drive class 1. Then we again use colon visibility mode and the name of the base class, and we inside that drive class, we put both data member and member function, and we have also terminated the drive class name 1. And from that drive class, we have created another drive class called a drive class 2, in which we have inherit the property of the drive class name 1 by using colon visibility mode and drive class name 1. Again, we open the class, we put data member and member function, and we terminate the class. When we terminate the class, we always remember we will use semicolon for the terminating the class. This is the rule in C++ programming languages. So this is how we do the multi-level inheritance. This is the hierarchical inheritance. Basically, hierarchical inheritance is a type of inheritance from a single base class, we can create a multiple child classes or a multiple drive classes. In the syntax, we have seen this example that we have create a base class in which we put both data member and member function, and we terminate the class. From that base class, we have created three new classes. drive class name 1, drive class name 2, and drive class name 3. So what is the syntax? Where do we again use class keyword, then drive class name 1, then colon, then visibility mode, and the name of a base class, in which we have put the data member and member function. Means drive class can also contain its own data member and member function, and it can also access the data member and member function of the base class or the class which it inherited. Again, we have created another drive class. That drive class is inheriting the same base classes, but because we have seen in the figure what that the base class is inherited by drive 1, drive 2, and drive 3. Again, when we creating a third drive class, again colon, visibility mode, and the base class name, because hierarchical inheritance is the inheritance in which we have created multiple child classes from a single base classes. This is the hybrid inheritance. In hybrid inheritance is basically in which one class we create two multiple child classes, and from multiple child classes we create a single child class. This is called hybrid inheritance. If we see the upper portion, class A, class B, and class C in the diagram, so it is look like a hierarchical inheritance. And if we see the bottom part, class B, class C, and class D, so it is look like multiple inheritance. So basically, hybrid inheritance is a combination of hierarchical inheritance and multiple inheritance. In the syntax, what we have seen that we have a create a class base class in which we use data member member function, terminate the class. From that class, we create a class B and C, naming as a drive class name 1 and drive class name 2. We have created two classes, and from that two classes, drive class 1 and 2, we have created another drive class 3 called class D. This is a class D, and which we are representing as a drive class 3. It inherit both drive class 1 and drive class 2, and we put data member and member function. Means each and every class have its own local data member and member function, and it can also contain, or it can also inherit the property of the base class, that is a data member and member function. Basically, this is a program for single inheritance, C++ program. In this program, what we have did, we have put header files, hash include istream.h, conio.h. In this program, we have create a class called A. A is the name of a class, where we open the classes in which we put data member int A and B. Or must remember, if we not write here anything, by default, the data member will become the private data member. So remember, if you are compiling this program in your compiler, please put public before this int A and B. So the A and B become the public data member and also this function. So here we create a two variable A and B terminated by semicolon. Here we create a one function called void get data. Inside get data, we have taken the value of A and B. We have requested, we have entered two values A and B. We have terminate this function get data, and we have also closed this class A. So basically in class A, we have created a one member function called get data, which will takes the user from the input, which will be the values of A and B. After that, terminating the class, we have created another class called class B. This class B is basically a drive class. This is the colon, then this is a visibility mode, that means the public. Then we put the name of the existing class called A class. This is how we do the inheritance. Inside this class, again, we have opened the class. Again, you have to write here public and colon, because we are using public mode of inheritance. We want that data is accessible for all the drive classes. So we will put public here. Inside this class B, we have created a variable called C that will use in this equation here. In the class B, we have also created one function called show data. We have opened this function, and what we are doing here, we are writing an equation or an operation called C equal to A plus B. What we have seen, this A and B are declared in the base class, but because of this inheritance, we can use this A and B in the drive class also, because If we are writing here public, so that the public data will become available in the drive class also. And we have perform a operation a and a is equal to a plus b, then we have use a cout keyword for printing the output of output screen. That is the value of c, which will contain the addition of both a and b. We have closed this function. We have closed the class b. Here we create a main function. Open this main function with the curly braces. Here we use clear screen method, which will clear the output screen or a console screen. Here we are creating the object of a drive class. Always remember, when you are writing a program, so must remember you have to create a class of base class. Then we have to use drive class. Drive class inherit the property of the base class. And while declaring an object, you must remember the object will be created of a drive class. Why we are doing this? Because the object drive class object can access all the property of its own class and also the base class. Because here in this, if we see class B are inheriting the property of class A, not class A inherit the property of the class B. So class B contain its own property and also the class A property. That's why we are creating the object of class B. This is the syntax for creating the object by using the class name, and after class name we put B1 terminated by B semicolon. So this B1 is an object of a class B. Here we called two method called getData and showData. GetData method, getData is a method of base class and showData is a method of drive class. So what we have seen that using inheritance, we can also use the data member of a drive class, a base class in the drive class, and we can also call the method of a base class with the object of the drive class. We have used getCH keyword to hold the output on our output screen, and we have terminated this main function. So when you compile and run this program, you will get addition of A and B, whatever the values entered by user A and B, you will get here. So in today's lecture, we have discussed about what is inheritance, what is the mode of inheritance, public, private, and protected mode. After that, we have discussed about what are the different 5 types of inheritance. After that, we have seen the syntax of all inheritance along with the diagram, and this is the sample program for a single inheritance. So we are ending this lecture. We will meet in next lecture. Thank you. Thank you so much.